Everybody, Thursday, December 22nd, 25 degrees outside. Oh boy, it is a cold one. We are facing these temperatures everywhere across the nation for the most part. All right, looks like I'm good now. Ooh. So, we want to continue on with our manifesto discussion. If you have not had a chance to watch the first few videos on our manifesto, our social contract, they are in the description. So you can go ahead and click on those. Part one and part two, they're broken down there for you to take a look at and get caught up. So that said, let's go ahead and jump into our discussion. In part one, we spoke about mentorship, volunteering, large events, respecting our elders, and we started jumping into resolving issues. In part two, we went over the full uh, resolving issues, and then we got into programs. So, resolving issues is one of the largest pieces here. So, that took just one hour segment there. And so, that one is where we're at today. We're going to get into doing business with, supporting business, employees, hiring, and employers. And as always, should you want to get your hands on this particular document, the conduit podcast at gmail.com. I do apologize. I put the wrong email in there. So sometimes it's hard for even me to remember all the different emails and things that are going on. But let's jump into it. All right. So this is part three. And in part three, we're going to jump into doing business with. Now, it's important to note that it does not matter what order these are in. Obviously, as you start adopting some of these things, it'd be pretty obvious you need to do one thing before you do another in regards to the Roman numerals. But the intent of this is there are so many different things that folks want to work on in their communities or their families, whether it's immediate, extended family, yada yada. Maybe their church organization, their club, whatever they call community, right? Um, this can be a helpful document, right? So there is no order of operations in this, but as you start trying to apply different elements of this social contract here, this manifesto that I've created, then it would become more obvious. Hey, we need to do this first before we do that. Now, mainly when I'm having this conversation, I'm speaking about the Black community as a whole, not necessarily locally, but nationwide. We have these challenges in our communities wherever you see them. So whether it's Kitsap County, whether it's Bremerton itself, whether it's Seattle, Pierce County, Colorado, Virginia, North Dakota, doesn't matter. All right. These are things that we can use and build upon what we have going on. So I encourage you to take a look at this, share it out. This is a living document. This is not designed to be a one and done. This is designed to be a document that is updated and modified. Okay. If you want to add to this document, please feel free. As I said before, may not include everything that you submit in. This is my particular manifesto, if you will. However, if I do like it and it's like, oh man, it's a great fit, I am going to put it in there. But you are free to take this document and to change it so that it fits for what you want and need it to do. Plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery. Plagiarize away, just like if you give some credit to the original author. All right, so doing business with. Okay, so one of the things that is really important, and I may have mentioned this in part one or part two, but we've definitely talked about this before on this platform, and that is how long the black dollar stays in the community. It's not very long, and it's the shortest amount of time when you analyze it and you stack it up against other demographics. And so, in order to change that, we have to be more intentional on who we do business with, right? Or specifically, doing business with each other. And that seems so obvious. However, it is a persistent issue and, reasons, right? There's lots of reasons on why that is, from everything on, well, they don't have the products and services that I'm looking for. More established institutions do it better. The convenience. I got a personal issue with those folks. I don't like how they do business. They don't have what I'm looking for. A friend of mine said something about the individual that runs the company or the organization or the particular products or services. You'll hear things in the black community like, well, the white man's ice water is colder, things of that nature, right? And so, unfortunately, in the black community, we are held to a higher standard in regards to the products and services that we offer. And I do believe that's unfair, but the only thing that is fair in life is, where they judge pigs at, right? That is the only fair thing in in life, unfortunately. Mm. However, however, if we're going to make a change, then we have to be intellectually honest about what it is that we see. So while we can have this ultra critique against other black businesses, we continue to patronize McDonald's. And McDonald's is a great example because many of us consume McDonald's. And what is it that we say? We go there and the ice cream machine is down, right? We go there and there's no apple pie, but it doesn't stop you from going to McDonald's. We have Balenciaga and the things that they have just shared in their drama in the public sphere. Gucci and other brands that have either said or done some pretty outright racist things. But you will have other black people that will defend and fight in order to continue to shop there. Some of it, right? And if we talk about post traumatic slave syndrome, if you will, is we want to show people that we can afford it. And so you'll hear a lot of us say things like, well, I got money, so I'm good, right? I'll show you. Sometimes we can be over tippers. And that's a concern, right? Because they don't really want your business. Now they'll take your money. Some will hard just say, you know what? No, we don't even want your money. Your money's no good here. But others will take your money. And in a lot of ways, it's almost like a joke, right? Like, how far can we push the envelope? How offensive can we be? And these fools still spend money with us. And unfortunately, many of us will do it. And so if you are kind of up on social media and some of our hip hop artists, there have been discussions about that. You'll see, some of these folks go and drop a sizable bag, if you will, in Gucci or some other places, knowing the drama that's happened. And it's all about saying, hey, you can't tell me that I don't belong. I've got a bunch of money and I'm just going to drop it here and I'm going to show out by giving you a few bands, right? But that doesn't help the situation, and the fact that you would still consume a luxury product says a lot. But at the same time, you would say, I'm not going to support that black business because, well, you know, they don't open at the same time every day. Their quality isn't quite up to par. All the other reasons that I gave before. And so that is something that has to change, right? And it's not good enough to say, well, black people, as long as we continue in that mindset, we're never going to get ahead. So we will hold each other to these unrealistic expectations when we understand, on the one hand, all of the institutional and systemic issues that have been put in place to have us where we're at and trying to overcome those things, right? Okay, you've got Black Wall Street, it gets destroyed. Folks try to build back as best they can. These things can take generations, right? But we're going to hold them to the standard as if none of those issues or challenges or that underbelly exist. Or someone trying to bootstrap themselves and show that entrepreneur spirit and doing the best that they can. And so instead of supporting, we denigrate, we tear down, and we don't patronize, and we go somewhere else. So we have to be intentional on that. All right? So that is super important when you're considering doing business with. All right. So another one, create fair and balanced contracts. Okay, this is definitely important. I think it's important that we do have contracts when we do business with each other. And the reason being is many of us are still very new in this sector, in this sphere. And what a contract does, and while you may look at it as being Eurocentric or whatever the case may be, what a contract does, and it doesn't have to be some catch all type situation that's 180 pages and it has every if then statement and protection built in. But what it does is it outlines clearly what is expected and what is going to be given for what is expected in regards to those goods and services. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take you to the airport. It's going to cost $80, right? I'm pick you up at your house. I'm going to drop you off. That's what the charge is. Now, that's a very simplistic contract, right? But what it does is it ensures or increases the likelihood that you will be able to do business again with this person in the future. What it does is it mitigates much of the miscommunication of expectation. So you and I have an agreement. All right, Marwan's going to do this for me, or I'm going to do this for Marwan, and this is what he's going to do in return. Well, time goes on. It's going to take a couple weeks before this particular event takes place, or these goods or services are going to be delivered. And when that time comes, it doesn't happen the way that you remember it. And now you're upset. And that becomes a huge issue. So there's this big disagreement. And depending on how I get triggered or the other party gets triggered, maybe they decide, you know what? I'm not going to give you anything, right? Because you're saying that I'm lying and this isn't what I told you. So now you're stuck. You don't even get anything. And now you're left scrambling. That relationship is now unrepairable. And so setting up a contract and making sure that it's fair and balanced is important. Now, why is the fair and balanced piece in there? This is tremendously important. We know that historically, through patents, through copywriting of intellectual properties, of contracts in the music industry, things of this nature, we can give example after example after example that folks have acted in a predatory manner. And just because there is a tool, a pen is a tool, right? It depends on how I use this pen, on whether or not I'm going to use it for good or if I'm going to use it for evil. So with a contract, yes, it's good to have a contract, but it needs to be fair and balanced. If your job is to try to get over on the person that you're trying to do business with, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that. And maybe it's a situation where they don't have a choice. They have to do business with you. They have no alternative. They're new. They're trying to grow. You're the only one that will give them a chance. And so you say something like, well, I want 30% when the standard might be 12. Fair and balanced. See, the objective is more macro than that. The immediate objective is for you to get the goods and service that you need to execute whatever it is that you're trying to do in the present. The macro part of it is you are trying to create and strengthen Black business. And the only way that you can do that is, one, to do business with each other, two, to do it frequently, three, to make sure that you have clear guidelines so it can be executed in a fair way, four, do business in a way that the organization can also make a profit so that they can grow, they can pay their staff, they can improve the quality of their goods and service that they offer. And what was I on, 4 or 5? That the Black community, from a business standpoint, can begin to thrive and can begin to grow. Oftentimes, we want the melanated discount. Come on, brother, hook me up. McDonald's does not hook you up. So, when you want the deal, when you want the hookup, you're cutting into that person's profit. And their margin probably isn't very high. Okay, so understand that if someone is selling something to you for $10, doesn't mean that they're making $10 of profit. You've got to minus off their cost that it took to get that product or service to you. If it was a pair of sneakers, they would have to be manufactured. Advertisement, all those things go into it before they get to you. Well, they have to pay all of that, their lights, their rent, employees. And then what's left is the profit that they are likely going to use a good portion of that to reinvest into the company so that they can get more inventory, use better materials, become faster, grow, get into a bigger space, hire more employees, whatever that is. And so if you're constantly wanting a deal or a hookup, then what you're doing is you're helping keeping the thumb on the neck of that Black organization trying to grow. As they fight against competitors, as they fight against environmental conditions that they don't control, it's snowy and icy. COVID, many businesses shut down during that time. They could not keep up. And so there's a macro piece in that. Yes, you want to get a great price. You want to get a good deal, but it needs to be a fair deal. And I think it's really easy for you to think about that. Think about what your profit margin is. Think about what your return on investment is if you were that person or if you're a fellow business person. What do you want that margin to be? The only way that you're going to be able to frequent Black businesses and have a variance of businesses to select from that aren't all in the same sector is if, one, you support them, but two, you give them what they're asking for. Now, the caveat to that is, if they're asking for something outrageous and it's not a luxury item, that's something different, right? I'm gonna give you a $25 hamburger, that is the same quality as a cheeseburger from McDonald's. Okay, that's different. But again, we're having an intellectually honest conversation here. B, use multiple businesses. Use multiple businesses. You have to be intentional. This has been an ongoing challenge in the Black community for as long as I can remember, and that's a long time. And when we have these conversations, these are the things that we hear, right? Well, I would use the business, but I just don't know where they're at. Someone needs to create a website. Someone needs to create a database. Someone needs to, but when we really want something, we search high and low for it. We can talk to folks. We can do some research. We should not need to have a database to identify other Black businesses that exist that provide goods and services. You know other Black folks, you know other folks in the community. And again, while I'm directing this to the Black community, this can be used for any group. But you have to do the research. It should not have to be handed to you. And again, because we understand the challenges that exist in the Black community, we know that these infrastructures aren't set. We know that these businesses don't have marketing and advertising dollars. Right? So you have to do the work. All right. So A and C are pretty much the same. I said create fair and balanced contracts, and I said include uh, grants and contracts. Subcontract when applicable. I was just having a conversation with another business owner last night about that. Super important here. Subcontract when applicable. Oftentimes, you are in a position that many others are not. And what is sad when it's, hey, I've got a transportation company and I'm doing business with an organization. And what ends up happening is they say, well, uh, do you know anyone that provides food? And I'm like, no, I don't. I just do transportation. But a bunch of Black companies that provide food. And even if you don't give them the list immediately right there, hey, look, as soon as I get back to my office, as soon as I get home, I'll make a list for you to pick from. That you could do. But you also have to be willing to do that yourself. And think about how you can pull that in. Are you going to have an event and you're going to offer food? Don't go to Costco. Whatever you've budgeted, say, hey, you know what? I've got I was intending on spending $50 at Costco. What can you do for the 30 people I intend to have at this event for $50? And see what it is they can do. But if you continue to give your money away to the big boxes and the huge organizations, how do you expect Black companies to thrive? Because if you're not spending your dollars with them, other people aren't necessarily spending their dollars with them either. So you have to. And so you have to come up with those creative ways to do that. Hey, we're having an event and I'm going to use this organization for food. I need some transportation. I know a transportation company I can call. We can do that. I'm going to have a guest speaker come in. We can go ahead and give them a small stipend or fee. If you are going to spend those dollars, be intentional on subcontracting with other Black businesses. And that's going to require you to think about that. So think about how general contractors work, right? They're going to go and they're going to subcontract out the plumber. They're going to subcontract out the electrician. They're going to subcontract out the concrete worker. And after they've done business with each other for a while, who are they going to go to? Well, I've been doing business with them, so I'm going to continue to go and do business with them. And that makes a barrier to entry for anyone else to come in from the outside. So if you're consistently going to Costco and you look up and you're like, man, I got that veggie tray, $10, $12, whatever. I got the cheese and meat tray. I got two of those. I got 2 cases of soda, right? You end up spending $100 pretty quick. Intentional. Subcontract when applicable. What does that do? It builds everyone up. And not only that, but when you subcontract with them, what are they going to do when they have opportunities? When they're serving their customers that they already have? Hey, St. Vincent de Paul is having an event, and we provide food for them, but they actually need something else this time. And this Black organization was subcontracting with me. You know what? You guys should use these folks. And what I mean by be intentional is, at the minimum, do a soft handoff. Saying, hey, well, you could call G2, look them up. Oh, here's the phone number. Call them. Make that introduction. Help sell it for them. Write that email. Hey, this is Marwan. I want to introduce you to Deborah. Deborah does this, yada, yada, yada. She's awesome. Let me know if I can help further, but I'm sure she will meet all your needs. Bam, it's sent. Because it's difficult for Deborah to make that cold call in there. Hey, we both have a mutual friend, Marwan, and Marwan said that I should give you a call, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that's good. It's better than not doing anything. The organization, St. Vincent de Paul, may be pretty busy, right? They're trying to figure it all out. They may have forgotten the conversation, so they never think of using the phone call to call Deborah. So by you making that soft handoff, that connection is solidified, it's tied, and Deborah can take it from there. And if you have the time and energy, you can even circle back around because you're already doing business with them anyway, right? Hey, just checking on you. The event's in 2 days. We've got everything set. Wanted to see if there was anything else you needed. And oh, hey, by the way, were you able to make that connection with Deborah? Oh, yeah, I did. Or this was happening here. I called. I didn't get through, whatever. Okay, well, you know what? Let me do something. I'll call you right back. These are the things that we have to do. And we can get caught up in the things of, well, we shouldn't have to do that. If they don't want to do it, then that's on them. They got to just do better. They got to want it. I can't want it for them. As long as that is our attitude, we are not going to improve and grow. People have different knowledge, skills, and abilities. People have different things going on. And we can say, well, then they must not be ready. That's what everyone else is already saying. So we have to stop saying what everyone else is saying if we truly want the change that it is that we say that we want. Subcontract when applicable. Share grant and contract opportunities. E. This one is also critically important. We will come across different grants and opportunities all the time. And it may not have anything to do with you. I come up with opportunities for youth, right? Someone will say, oh, hey, there was a micro grant through Kitsap Public Health. I had no intention on applying for that grant. So what I did was, okay, I'm going to do a podcast, and I'm going to go over that grant and push it out there on the channel, on my platform, so that the folks that watch, the people that I'm connected with, have an opportunity to hear it as soon as possible so that they can take action on it. Share those grants and contracts. Many of us, as heads of companies or whoever your grant writer is or your team, Hey, you know, you spend a lot of time looking for money because that's how we keep our doors open. And you see this one, nah, I don't. Nah, 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 maybe. Nah, nah. Okay, that one works. And you find 1 out of 50 or something like that, right? But if you see something and you know, man, you know what? That would be a good opportunity for Doc. That'd be a great opportunity for Ebenezer Church. Copy the link, send an email. Here you go. I was doing some grant searching. I saw this and I thought about you. This might fit for you. That's it. Took you 30 seconds. And all you got to do is open up a little Word document or a Google Doc while you're doing your search, because you're already taking notes, right? Youth opportunity. You know, sit in here, you find the opportunity. Let's say I was, well, let me spell that correctly. Let's say this was the actual grant opportunity here. Link it. And then later on, just send it to them. That's huge. That's huge. That's being intentional. That's being a game changer. That's being a community builder. Letter F, introduce to other investors. It is so scary for us to share our contacts, our hookups with people. And the fear is for so many different reasons, right? They might like us better. They might like them better. They'll stop using us. They don't do it for me. But again, intentional on changing the trajectory of our community. So it's great that you have the connection with the money. But the question that you have to ask yourself is this: if we talk about colonization, if we talk about institutional, systemic issues, does it really make a difference if it switches from the white organization or the government holding the bag to you holding the bag and then still distributing the funds? Or are you keeping up the colonized situation? Are you keeping up the systemic issues that need to be dismantled? Now, if that's who you want to be, okay, but you should be clear on that. But I don't know how effective that's going to be in the long run if the goal is just to replace the bag holder. So introduce your investors to each other. There's plenty of opportunity. There's quite a bit of money. And oftentimes, you're stronger together. And I say oftentimes, right? Give you a little wink there. We're stronger together. You can do more. One organization doesn't do all things. And for those of you that are saying, hey, you know what? I already do that. You could do more. Wouldn't it be great to get a phone call? And it's like, hey, I wanted to tell you about this this opportunity. You know, this organization is giving out, you know, $30,000. It's like, what you talking about? I introduced that guy to you, or that organization to you, or she was my contact. And you can see it being paid forward, right? It's coming back to you. Again, there may be some things where that investor didn't think about you because that's not what you do. But because you introduced them to someone who does do that, let's say it's food, but there was a delivery component to it. And so that person ends up calling you saying, hey, you know what? The person you introduced me to, this investor who's got this money, this grant or this contract opportunity, is has this food piece, but there's a transportation portion. So now, while the investor wasn't thinking of you directly and went over here for the food piece, that entity comes to you and says, hey, can you do this piece of it? That's the increase. That's the growth. At some point, we have to begin to trust. And also, we can't worry on what people do. Is it a loan or is it a gift? Are there hidden expectations that we have when we do things for individuals? What is your purpose in doing this for this person? Is it because you want them to thrive? Is it because you want the community to grow? Is it because you want them to owe you something? Is it so that you appear a certain way to the community? These things are important to analyze. Always advocate for businesses. You know, I shared in part one, hey, look, I'm a small food company and I can't do a big event for 500 people. But you know what I can do? I can work with Black business A, food business, Black business, food B, C, and D, and we can all do it together. So I still am able to be a part of this opportunity and make some money off of it, get my name out there. But I've also pulled in some other people so that the opportunity is there. See, what happens oftentimes is maybe the investor comes and says, hey, Marwan, can you do this? And I'm like, man, I would love to do it, but those dates, I'm here. I just don't have the capacity to do that. But what you could do is say, you know what? I could go ahead and I could do this if I had two other people with me. And you know what? Akuye, she's got this thing going on. Jewel got this thing going on. So the three of us together can actually make this happen. Yeah, I can do it. And that's where the subcontracting comes in, right? But we got to get out of the position in our minds of, well, I can't do it. So I just had to say no to it. But that was a way for you to say yes. And as you do that, right, you're also proving yourself to them. You also get to learn from the bigger companies. How are you able to, you know, do a 2-day luncheon for 400 people? What does that look like? How can I grow to that? Can I provide something that you don't? You do sandwiches and I do drinks. So can we partner together? And as these opportunities come in, I could be the drink portion and their specialty drinks, or I'm the dessert, or I'm the cultural food piece of it. Lots of different things that we can do, right? A different way of thinking. And the other one is possess and share contact information of other businesses. You have to keep your own database. It's going to be great when we have a website and a Facebook page, and we can all go to a central location and find out where all these folks exist. But start creating it on your own. And if you can, again, you can use Excel, you can use Word, make it real easy, right? Let's delete this stuff here, right? We got our food, we got transportation, we have youth programs, we have events, whatever it is, right? And in that, we're just collecting business A, business B, and I was set up. And if I have a list of this and there's, oh, maybe 8 businesses that are listed here, and I share that with another org and they build on it and they add their piece to it, then we can build it together. Again, it's that intentionality. And while these things seem easy, these are things that are not being done, and they're not being done with everyone. So it's not consistent because we have the people that we're friendly with and that we're cool with, right? All right. So that is doing business with. Now let's jump off to our next one, which is supporting business, number 13. So on the manifesto, I'm jumping around a little bit because I wanted to kind of keep these things together. On the Google Doc that I created, the next one is emergency management. I actually thought about doing emergency management today because of the weather, but I will save that for later. But I wanted to talk about this one because that was already on my mind. All right, so supporting business. Again, some of this is going to be overlap, and that's okay. Make it your first choice. Make it your first choice. And what I mean by make it your first choice, a lot of times what happens is we'll say, okay, we're going to have food. And we've got an idea of what we want to serve, right? I want to do chicken. I want to do burgers. I want to do pinwheels, whatever the case may be. You already have it in your mind. I want to do pinwheels. But you have picked something that no black businesses offer. So do you really have to do pinwheels? Are you really married to pinwheels? Or could you offer something else so that it can work? Help it to be your first choice. Help it to be your first choice. So at some point, we go to so many different meetings and trainings and you name it, conferences, and you see the same stuff pretty much all the time, right? These are the staples. But how does black business become a staple if you don't think in that mindset to make it the staple? And if black folks ain't one thing, we are definitely trendsetters. That's facts. So the more we do it, the more others are going to want to do it. So, okay, it's not pinwheels. That's what you want to do because that's what you've seen so often. It's normally coffee and this and that. But this org specializes in, I don't know, French toast. I don't know. So this is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to be. And as you begin to do that and you make it your first choice and others begin to do that, it becomes a staple. So you're not seeing the brown generic Starbucks decaf, caffeinated. It's coffee. How many black orgs can produce a couple gallons of decaf and caffeinated coffee with sugar in the raw and raw sugar and half and regular creamer? Almost all of them. It's being that intent, that intentionality, the first choice. I already talked about these other things, very use. desserts, one for main, one for hors d'oeuvres. Those are things that you can do also to spread it around. Now, again, there's a caveat to all these things, right? Sometimes it won't make sense for you to say, hey, you know what? I want you to do this. And it's a bunch of work for them for very little, right? So it does need to make sense. But give them the opportunity to say, you know what? This makes sense. Or, hey, if we do this, this can make sense for me to do. Help them. I hold on, I've got third, we have children to open a clinic. So I'm sorry, a little bit. 12, okay, good. Cool. Try to have that variance. Try to have that variance. I lost my thought there, so it'll come back to me. Help fundraise. That's a big one. You know what? One of the things that you can consider doing is saying, hey, you know what? However I thought about this, and I tried to be as inclusive as possible. There's 10 organizations. I can only combine 3 on this particular event. So there's 7 of you that can't. But you know what you can do is we're going to have some opportunity for tabling. Why don't you come, bring your menus, and maybe bring a couple samples so that people can get to know who you are. And you've got this food section of Black organizations. You've got this service section of Black organizations. Need to get your hair cut? Need to get your hairstyle? These are all the organizations that do that. They're there. Be inclusive. Let the other ones get to know each other. Because a lot of times we're so busy doing the business, we don't really have time to look up and say, okay, who else is out there? Let me go and introduce myself to this person. And we're trying to just do what we can. But you know how huge that would be, how impactful that would be for you to have an event. And even if you can't use their services at that particular event, to have them there offering some samples. It's like, hey, it's like a potluck. Come bring a couple dozen cookies. Put your name and contact information there so people know who you are. Come and show up so you can introduce yourself when there's a break or there's time and space for that. If you can, build it into your programming. How awesome would that be? Typically, you do a little bit, right? If you have an event and there's tabling that's going on, there's some kind of an announcement. Hey, thank all the vendors that came out to make today possible. Oh, hey, by the way, here's all of our Black food vendors. We've got Marwan who does fried foods. We have this person that does this. We have this person that can do wonderful things with fruits and vegetables. This one has all the desserts you could ever want. This one does beverages like no one's business. Here's their contact information. Man, game-changing things. Consider fundraising together. Something I was thinking about the other day, and this is going to be on this part here in my manifesto, is I think about how these big agencies, banks, nonprofits, larger institutions, United Way, things like that, right? If they donate to the cause, they want their logo on that paperwork, on that flyer, on that website, right? United Way supports this. They donated. And there are reasons for that, right? One, obviously, gives some credibility to the organization that is putting the event on, because There are people that see those as trusted institutions. So if they're willing to invest in that organization, that gives credence and credo to that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of organizations that want their name on there, and it's more nefarious because they get to say, look what we did for the Black community. We gave them $500. And if they earmark 10 grand, let's say, and they give away $500 to every event that they sponsor, which allows them to do 20 events per year, which is almost one every other week, it looks like, man, they are really doing it for the community. But that was money that they already had earmarked and budgeted. And there's no other real work going on in the community aside from just gaining credit for saying, hey, we're handing out some money. Now, what's important is clearly the big institutions value that. But what about the smaller ones? What about the smaller ones? And do the big agencies put the small Black organizations on their website, on their handouts? They have the platform, they have the infrastructure, they have the money. Should it not be the other way? You know, some people can be critical of people who give money and then they talk about it, right? Like, I gave this institution $1,000, right? And folks can get pretty upset about that. It's like, why are you always bragging about what you did for this person and that person? I think there's some words in the Bible that I can't recall right now about not boasting on your tithing and your offerings. Like, you know, just do it. You don't have to brag about it. And so there can be some conflict in that. Now, some of it is that may be what you do, and people are only going to know that that is what you do if you don't advertise it, right? That's a double-edged sword. But we can change the game. The small Black organizations need to be on the larger organizations' pamphlets, their website. It should be big upping them, not so much the other way around. They should leave space for the smaller organizations that Black organizations are partnering with so that they can get some recognition and some prominence. They really need to be the headliner. I don't know what, I think I was at a conference for Front and Center. And what they were sharing was, I believe it was United Way and Salvation Army are the largest institutions in the nation in regards to how much money they bring in annually through donations. The most, by far. The numbers are astronomical, in the tens of millions of dollars. The expectation needs to change. It needs to change. We're talking about supporting business here. We're on Roman numeral 13. Make Black business your first choice, which means, you know what? I could do those pinwheels. I could do that Starbucks coffee, but I'm going to do Java, the juice in Java. I'm going to do, and if you know, it's like, hey, you know what? And I can't afford the price at what you offer. This is what I have budgeted. What can you do for that? See, sometimes we say no to someone before we even give them a chance to say yes, right? So we'll look and we'll say, hey, you know what? Your transportation is $150 to the airport. It's actually not. I have $120, what can you do? And I say, well, it's $150. Well, no, I can't do that. Instead, you could say, hey, look, and I'm talking about honestly, right? We got a really tight budget this year. We've got $120 that's earmarked for transportation. Is there anything that you can do? Right? Because they're the owner. So they can modify and do something. They can do an in-kind donation for a part of it. So I'm gonna give you an example. Shout out to my mind. For the team bash out at Fairgrounds, she reached out and she said, hey, you have transportation. Can you help us out with that? Like, what would it cost? And this is what we want to do. We need to pick up the kids from, everywhere from Port Orchard to Silverdale and along the way and get them to the event and then get them home. How much would that cost? Well, that could be pretty spendy, right? I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm it. So we thought about it, we talked about it. We said, well, here's what we could do. How about we set up pickup locations? Safeway, Port Orchard, Fred Meyer's in Port Orchard, Marvin Williams Center, right? And there was an event that was going on at the Marvin Williams Center. So some of the parents of the kids who were going to go to the team bash were going there, right? So what we'll do is we will show up at different places, like a bus or a shuttle, personal shuttle for them. And we'll pick folks up and we'll get them there. And we'll do it that way. And it'll be an in-kind donation. We're not going to charge you for that. And so that gave an opportunity to say yes. Now, we probably could have said, hey, can you do $50, cover the fuel and, $20 for the driver. But that was a way for us to support that event and make it so that other kids could definitely participate, or not make it a hardship and a lot of scrambling to try to get those kids to be able to participate. Right? So don't be so locked in to this is what I want, got to be like this. Obviously, within reason, some things have to be the way that they are, right? But consider that. Consider that. And understand that you don't understand their business. So you don't know what flexibility or what accommodation they can make. But make it your first choice. Combine like businesses if you can, right? Use varying businesses. Hey, you're going to do the main course. You're going to do the dessert. You're going to do the snacks. You're going to do the beverages. Grow them all and rotate, right? Everybody needs support. Everybody needs their businesses to grow. They need the advertising. They need the marketing. They need the opportunity, right? You say, when I was growing up, it was always so strange to me. It's like, hey, we've got a position open and we want 5 years experience. I was like, well, how am I supposed to get experience for an entry-level job? Like, wouldn't you guys be the one to hire me so that I can get the experience? So then for the next job, I could, it was so bizarre. I actually saw that on, I think it was on Burger King on Kitsap Way a few years ago. This was before COVID had hit. And they were looking for people with previous experience. And I was like, for Burger King? I mean, like, this is supposed to be an entry-level job. So what's before Burger King? You know what I mean? So it's like, it tickled me, but it was sad. How are you supposed to get experience? How are you supposed to get experience and build your reputation and prove yourself as a small Black organization if your own folks won't take a chance on you or give you the opportunity? I won't even say take a chance on you. Give you the opportunity. Give you the opportunity. All right. Let's get into number 14 there. For those of you that are joining us, see more and more folks coming in. Hope you are staying safe in this cold 26-degree temperature here, let's go ahead and get into employees. Okay. Now, this one's really important. I've got one for employers also, but we're going to start off with employees. And we've heard things like laying flat, what is it, soft quitting. There's a new buzzword out there now where folks have been doing this forever, right? Looking for a new job while they're at the job they're at. They call it, oh, I can't remember. I just watched this the other day. And so there's this new term for it, right? All these little buzzwords. And for many of us employers, we lament the fact that many folks now don't want to pay their dues. They don't want to put the time in. They want to start at the top. They want titles that they haven't earned. They see from the outside and say, I could do that. I've got all these knowledge, skills, and abilities. I could do it better than the person that was doing it before, because they know that person. They don't really care for them. Maybe they are only doing a mediocre job. But folks want to come in at the top. They no longer want to come in and pay their dues, put their time in. I know my worth. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. It's a problem with turnover. It's a problem with business growth. It's a problem with personal and professional development. And it shows. It really does show. So the first one that I have for employees is pay your dues. You need to put your time in. You don't come in and start off at the top. It doesn't matter if there are situations where other people do that. There are folks that have been working in these positions for months, years before you. And the expectation that you should come in and make more than them or have all these other benefits, or, and they've been grinding, it's offensive. And you might be the best thing since sliced bread. But one, you need to prove it. That's important, right? For us that employ people, we hear so many times, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. I'm going to be the best person that has ever done this for you. And you're like, okay, all right. My button ain't going to work today. It's like, stop the cap. That's what we're saying in the back of our head. And we go ahead and we give them the opportunity. And more likely than not, they weren't the best ever, Got to put your time in. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. 10,000 hours. If you're working 40 hours a week, that's 2,080 hours, I believe. That's 5 years. Become an expert. Really honing your craft. At full time. But you're working 10, 15, 20. And when you're at work, you need to be directed for everything that you do. When they ask, are you a self-starter? Are you a problem solver? That means, are you just sitting here waiting for what's next? Are you understanding the organization, how it functions, what your duties are, what the deficit is, what needs to be done? I don't come into my office, but maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, right? That's just that by design. I love being in the office. Every time I'm in there, it's like, oh, it's so great to come into the office. But sometimes I'll come into the office and there'll be folks kind of just sitting around and they haven't been doing anything for 30, 40 minutes. And I was like, hey, how you doing? How y'all doing? What y'all up to? Oh, nothing. We just, waiting for something to do. And I'm like, well, this, that, this. And they've been sitting in there this whole time. I was like, well, all these things need to be done. But you want title, head of this. I want this much money. How can you have that expectation? So it's really, really important to pay your dues. And again, if you're looking at it from a macro standpoint, doesn't matter if you're the owner or the manager. As a community, we're all trying to build the community up. We're all trying to build up Black business. So your role in that as a volunteer, as a 1099, as an employee is to be an asset, to help to build it to be the best that it can be. Now, that doesn't mean that you're just, oh my God, what's next? All right, I got the garbage. I did the windows. All right. Whew, oh my goodness. And you ready to stroke out. Not saying that. But you need to be intentional. Oftentimes I'll have conversations with folks and they've got the armchair quarterback thing going on. G2 ought to do this. The conduit ought to do that. The conduit should do this. Conduit should do that. And it's like, man, I love your ideas. That's all fantastic. But we don't have the manpower for that. Now, you are suggesting these things. It'd be great if you would help us implement all of your great suggestions. And then it's, well, I'm just telling you what would make, your organization better. I mean, you could just take it or leave it, but I'm just trying to. And it's like, well, you know what? That's not really helpful, right? Especially when you understand the challenges that the organization or the business is facing. And typically, folks that make those recommendations and those offerings do understand it. They know that you're an army of one or an army of four, that you're punching way above your belt. And so they can see all these things that need to be done and should be done to be more effective, to grow, right? Because with growth comes revenue, comes profit, brings the ability to bring in more customers, which helps with the infrastructure. That helps for you to get new equipment or to hire employees, to get different software. And that is the part to play. And it seems like that's not a big part, but sometimes that's the hugest part. You're a volunteer. Who have you told about the organization that you're volunteering at? Do they have any branding? Could you wear their logo? Could you tell someone about it? What does that look like? And I mean intentionally. Hey man, you should go down to XYZ. They're great. When you could do so much more than that. People want the heart story. Why do you volunteer? Why do you work there? Yeah, we know. Your knowledge, skills, and ability, your experience is that you could be making twice as much than you could here. So why have you chosen to be here and give your precious time? Tell that story. Because that's the story that's like, wow, really? That organization is like that? You believe in it like that? Oh man, all right. Hey, you know what? I give $20 a month. Basically, it's not even a Starbucks with tax. Every week, I just give up one coffee every week, and I just have it auto come out of my account. $5. It's $1 a day, not even on weekends. I'm just doing $1 a day. That's it. And they can set it up. I can help you set it up because a lot of times, you're in an organization, you have that ability to make that connection right then and there. So I hear that a lot, like, oh man, you should do this type of fundraiser. You should do that. Have you considered doing this? And a lot of business owners hear that. And some of them are really great ideas, but we need your help to do it. And what does that do? It grows the community. It grows Black business. And as Black business grows and they're able to hire, then what happens? Another opportunity is created. I want to have you think of yourself as being such a powerful piece in the equation that is the community, that you are of special significance, and that the little things that you think are little are huge to the organization at large. If you see a bookkeeper that is sweeping the floor, they're not bookkeeping. They're not balancing the books. Now you could say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that bookkeeper should sweep the floor. And they should, right? They should be able to do those things. However, you don't have the skills to be the bookkeeper. So while you're so concerned about the bookkeeper being or sweeping the floor, by you doing that for them, that allows them the ability to do their piece and to do more than just, hey, I made sure that the books evened out today. How were they able to improve their position, their job duties, teaching someone else so they understand simple bookkeeping? Hey, this is what we do because we want to make sure that everybody gets the experience. You're so powerful. A few years ago, that was a challenge that we had. I love teachable moments, and I never mind teaching through my own experience. Folks, unfortunately, oftentimes only tell you the good, they won't tell you the bad, right? However, there was a time and when you have volunteers, you have so many folks coming in, right? And they're on the peripheral, so they don't understand how things work. They're hearing things from, other volunteers or folks that have been there longer. They have challenges of if you are very accessible, they believe that you are on the same level, right? And you are as people. In the organization, you are not. Your duties, you are not. Yes, you are at the same level as people, and people get that confused. And so judgments are made. Well, why is he not doing that? He should be doing this too, right? And it's like, well, but if he's doing that, how is he having conversations with other executive directors or applying for grants or meeting with officials or whatever in order for it to grow? But they're so concerned with you doing the same things as them that they don't even see the grand picture of it. And that's a conversation that needs to be had. You know, talking with some other folks that run companies. A lot of times we're just so busy doing the work, and many are very humble, right? I'm just doing what I got to do. That other people don't realize all the things that they're doing or the impact of the things that they're doing, right? Because hey, I'm just doing what I got to do. It is what it is. But I submit to you that they actually do need to have an understanding. And when we talk about things like financial literacy, that is part of it. I think that's really a big part of it, right? Because what we end up saying is, well, you just don't understand. Or when you get here, if you ever do it, then you'll figure it out. And it's clear that they don't have a literacy in management of a program, management of a business. They're on the outside looking in, right? And we kind of call it like crabs in a barrel mentality, right? I want you to be down here with me. Oh, you think you better? Who you think you are? Things like that, right? No, it's not that. I have a different experience. I have a different skill set. All of these things need to be done and then some. But when you share that out, what you give them is acumen. What you give them is knowledge. Give them the knowledge. It's not a brag. It's not a boast. This is what it takes. Just having a conversation last night. Shout out to Jewel. If you're an entrepreneur, and many Black businesses have 0 employees, or they're the only employee, and you're growing, you're doing the best you can. If you don't work, you don't grow. It's not like McDonald's. If you take the day off, they're still going to have the billions and billions served. If you take the day off, no one is doing that head of hair. If you take the day off, no one is driving the clients. If you take the day off, right? So it only grows while you're growing, while you're moving. Momentum. If you're inert, you're not going to have that movement. Folks will tell me all the time, and there is truth into this, so it is important. Self-care is critical. You ain't going to be good to no one if you're not here. And you need to take a break. You need to take some time out and do this. You need to do, like, yeah, I mean, that sounds good. But these things have to get done. With great power comes great responsibility. And it is so much different, so much more different when you are running something, if you are building something. You can go in and punch a clock, and when your shift is over, hey, the building burns down, and I did my job, and I'm done. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow, or next week, or next time. But until you come back, it's not going to grow. So if the owner or the project manager or whoever, and we're in a growth state, right? Especially Black business, is taking this time off or taking their foot off the gas, there's no growth. There's no growth. The fictional place of Wakanda is a fantastic place, but it has to be built. And that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of work. And you need like-minded people that are with you that are going to help you to build. And so as an employee, and this is what we're talking about, employees understand that as simple as you think your task is, it goes into the grander scheme of growing the organization. We won an award yesterday from Kids Housing and Homeless Coalition. Shout out to G2. And one of the first things that I said is, a lot of people think that G2 is Marwan. Couldn't be further from the truth. We transported 48 people to the severe weather shelter yesterday. You know how many people I drove to the shelter? 0. Not one. And the only way I can do that is because there is a team of like-minded folks that believe in the mission and the vision and are willing to do the work at a degree more than just my job is to come in and make hamburgers for 4 hours and go home. And that's it. And I submit to leadership of organizations that you need to share the value of those small jobs, the value of those little jobs. The fact that when folks take those things off of someone else's plate, they're able to make fewer mistakes because they're not wearing multiple hats. Focus on what it is they're doing, do a great job into what they're doing, generate ideas on how to improve. See, a lot of times we're so busy, you can't even think about, you miss opportunities because you don't get a chance to really brainstorm. All right, hey, we did this. How did that go? What did we do well? What did we knock out the box? Man, what did we do just god awful? We cannot do that again. What were some of those hidden opportunities? Man, I didn't even know. Case in point, this is the second year in a row, right? We partner with a lot of agencies, here in the county to do transportation, right? Kids Have Mental Health is one of those. Well, we have to, pick folks up, take them to the hospital, take them to different appointments. When they leave, we transport them there. When they go there, we bring them there. But what does that mean? In order for us to bring them somewhere or take them to the hospital and bring them back, there has to be employees there. Mhm. The employees are facing the same snow and ice everyone else is making. So there's some employees that need G2 to help them to get to work so that they can serve the clients who is our main customer. An opportunity that comes up because you're paying attention, because you have a team, because you can think about those things so that you can fill the void, so you can expand the business, so you can grow your revenue, so you can do your mission more effectively. Right? That's why everybody is critical. And share with your staff their importance. You're folding trifold brochures, and it takes you 2 hours to do that. That takes a load off of an office manager or a specialist or a case manager or wherever the case may be. And we know in small orgs, we wear a dizzying amount of hats. So pay your dues. No unearned titles. I only want a title that I've earned. Hey, hey there, Rev. Purple Claws, like it. I only want the title that I've earned. Again, with great power comes great responsibility. And while a title feels good, it's really empowering to have that title, there are expectations and responsibility that comes with that title. Now, you should want that title. And you should work for that title. I'm working on my manifesto there, Rev. So this is the living document for change. This is part 3 in my ongoing series. And I'm going long today because I don't have any other shows. But this is a social contract that I have, and I'm sharing it with the community. And they can use this social contract or my manifesto here to improve everything from their immediate family, extended family, any groups or orgs they belong to, the community at large, things of that nature. And so right now, I'm talking about employees and what employees should be doing in the grand scheme of being a community builder. And the community in this regard is the nonprofit or the business that they work for, and how that affects the Black community at a macro level. And the fact that this isn't directed just at Black people, that every group can use these items here in this manifesto to make improvements. So that is what we're talking about now. I started off with, and I put the links in the description there if you want to watch part one and part two. And if you want me to email this to you, just send me your email and I'll send it off to you. But we started this off with doing business with. So being intentional about that and supporting business. We're on employees now. We're about a little more than halfway through on that. We're going to get into hiring and then employers after, and that will wrap up today. And then we'll get into part four later. So that's where we're at right now. And so we are on, what letter are we on here? I scrolled up, so I lost my place there. We're on Roman numeral 14 right now. And there's quite a Roman numerals there. I think I'm at 23 Roman numerals. So I've been working on this document for a while. And so I think it's now time to share this document. And it's a living document because, let you know, okay. And it's a living document because it's going to change as I go forward. I believe in high impact practices, HIPs, not best practices, because the best is going to change as time goes on. I've encouraged people, Rev, if you want to take a look at this, I'll send it to you if you want to add it. Um, I'm going to create two documents. So the things I like from what people add, I will incorporate into my manifesto, and the things that I'm like, yeah, that's great, that you put that in there. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm going to create one that has kind of the additions from contributors and then send that back out, because while I might not agree with it, other people may actually like the other contributions, right? So where I was leaving off in is we talked about employees and paying your dues. Now we're talking about no unearned titles. And so no unearned titles. You should aspire to hold that title, to kill that title. But you should not have the expectation that, oh, yeah. Do your best. And this seems so, again, some of these things are simple. But when you have terminology like, hey, America is lying flat, they're clocking in, they're doing the bare minimum, and then they're going home. You're lying flat means that you're lying flat on the Black community. You lying flat means that you're lying flat on the organization or the nonprofit that you're working for. You lying flat or not giving 100% energy means that the people that are really dependent upon you, especially for G2, they're expecting us to be able to transport them to the severe weather shelter. It's 26 degrees. This weather kills people. Regardless of the humanity piece of it, it kills people. So lying flat, man, I ain't got it today, man. I don't want to stay home, be in the warmth. I feel bad for them folks, but man, it is that serious. And while that might not be the exact example in your organization or your church or your family or your community, it is still the same. You must do your best. Four Agreements, one of my favorite books there. Shout out to Mark. We have a common love there. Oh, and speaking about purple claws, I even got a purple cane. You know what I'm saying, Rev? I came ready. It's really crazy. Even my cough syrup is purple. I might be doing way too much, right? I didn't do that on purpose, by the way. I'm just out of the daytime stuff. This is how I keep from not having coughing fits when I'm doing the show, by the way. Just Drink it straight from the bottle. Um, but do your best. And understand that your best doesn't mean that you're going just hard for the 8 hours, the 4 hours, the 2 hours, or whatever the task is that you're doing. I don't feel great. I'm tired. I got this cough. Headaches come and go. But I'm doing the best that I can under the conditions that I'm experiencing now. I'm not taking it like I'm not like drinking a third of the bottle every time I shoot my. It ain't scissor. Sipping on some scissor. But I'm doing the best that I can based on my conditions now. Now, I could lay on that couch back there and watch some Jack Ryan. That's what I would like to do. If I was going to do something recreationally. But this is what I want to do. Ultimately, this is what I need to do for the community, for my companies, for other individuals. So I've got to do the best that I can do under my situation. And this is the best that I can do today. I can do a show. It's warm. I've got my sweater on. I've got cough syrup. I have my carafe. I'm staying hydrated. Dr. Gib Morrow was on earlier today talking about RSV and flu and COVID and what Kitsap Public Health is going to do in the future for 2023. This is the best that I can do today. I did a small show talking about Deborah Jackson's Christmas event and to stay tuned to see what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's the best that I can do. Am I doing everything that I might normally do if my conditions weren't as they are today? No. But I'm doing the best that I can do. And I'm being honest with myself. Because sometimes I'm just feeling lazy. Right? I mean, I could do this. I could get this done, but So as an employee, do your best. And that looks like not waiting to be told what needs to be done. And taking responsibility, taking accountability, being proactive. You ever come into a space, maybe you volunteer a couple times a month at a place and you come in and it's like, man, I'm a busy person. So when I come in, and I kind of do the same thing, but I really don't remember exactly what I'm supposed to do or the steps. Write the steps down. Step 1, wash your hands. Step 2, clean from the top down. Empty the dishwasher. Load the dishwasher. Step 5, clean the counter. Step 6. And whatever that is, make that itemized list. And you know what? If you have a hard time with it, there's probably others that struggle with it also. So not only are you helping yourself to come in and remember what the steps are, which means that you don't have to ask a higher level employee or volunteer, hey, what are we supposed to be doing again? What's next? But now you can come in and get started and knock it out. You know that you're there 3 times a month. So the people that are there the other 27 or 28 times in a month, they can follow that same sheet. And we see that a lot when we work different shifts. And it's like, okay, I work in the kitchen and, we're supposed to leave it clean. for the next person, right? I'm closing the restaurant down, and when the first shift comes in the morning, this is how it's supposed to be for them, right? When the first shift leaves their shift in the afternoon or early evening, this is how they're supposed to leave it for the night shift. You know this. So you understand it because you complain when you come in, whether it's at the end or the beginning, or or whether it's morning or night, whenever you come in, you know when stuff wasn't done. You're pissed off, you're angry. Man, they didn't clean up. They just left it a mess. They left the big dishes. They just left this stuff soaking. They didn't even scrub the pots out. Oh, well, we were letting it soak. Oh, you just wasn't trying to wash that stuff. Do your best. The community is on the line. I know it sounds like hyperbole. I know it sounds like cap. It's not. But we must think a different way. If we hope to change, we have to think a different way and we have to behave a different way. Don't bring drama. Letter D. Sometimes, I share with folks, it's like, hey, we talk about code switching. It's like, you talk to me crazy, but you got to go to see the judge. And you don't talk crazy to the judge because, they have the power to lock you up, right? So you have the ability to control that. If you're trying to seek a grant or a contract, you're not talking crazy to them folks because they got what you want, which is the grant or the contract. So your tone is going to be different. Don't bring drama to the workplace. You're not going to bring it to court. Don't bring it there. And unfortunately, there's already challenges, right? The organization is small, trying to grow, trying to do its thing. And here you are, you're here. Now, the job that you work at, I'm using a volunteer paid example here. The job where you work at, they're not allowing you to bring the drama. You won't have a job. You won't be able to pay your bills. So why would that be okay to bring it to a place that you're volunteering from or it's your side job where you're bringing in chaos into that space? And that's why I want employees to think about the work they do for Black organizations, for Black businesses, as being so much more than just coming in and doing the job, washing the dishes, sweeping the floor, cutting the grass, whatever it may be, making the coffee, preparing the food, driving, teaching, instructing, assisting, whatever it is. So much bigger than that. Don't bring the drama. Now, does that mean that you have to be a robot and you can't come in? You got into an argument with your spouse or your kids and you came in and you're feeling some kind of way? You're human. You're going to have these emotions. You're going to have these frustrations. But we have to learn how to not let our emotions rule our lives in a negative way. Compartmentalize. That issue that you got to deal with, once that time is over, it's still going to be there for you. Now, what's powerful about this is we have to find better ways to resolve the things that we go through in life, regardless of, well, I don't want you to bring this stuff to work, right? We have to find more effective ways to resolve conflict and issues, which I talked about yesterday. And so not only does it help for you not to bring drama to work, it not only helps the organization, but it helps you personally because you're better able to work through your situation, your scenario. Tell folks all the time, like, look, people cut you off in traffic. And some of my folks be really pissed off and they're angry. "Oh, they cut me off. You coulda, you know, hurt me and my kid was in my car. Or if my kid had been in the car, it would have been a whole different thing." Right? And they're just incest, incest, whatever. And oftentimes, that person didn't even realize that they cut you off. Someone ever cut you off and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they're waving like they're mouthing it. Sometimes people are still really pissed off when the person is apologizing and really honestly did not see you. And they weren't just being ridiculously negligent, like putting on makeup or combing their hair or their dog's in the lap or they're texting. None of those things were happening. They literally just did not see you when they decided to merge. There wasn't an accident. It was close, but you're pissed for hours. And to what end? To what use? Why are you staying in that space? Sometimes that person will cut you off and they're going. They didn't see it, right? They didn't even know. And they're gone. They got off on the next exit. You're still driving and you're just going down the street pissed off. They don't even know they've pissed you off to that level. Don't bring that stuff to work. Don't bring the drama. But find ways to work through it. Now, oftentimes, especially like in, smaller organizations, nonprofits, things like that are doing some of this type of mission work. There's someone that you can, "Hey, can I just talk to you for a couple minutes? Help me to get my frame of mind back." But even again, you can do a lot of that work yourself. I taught business math at the college, and math is very stressful for a lot of people. Well, because numbers, right? And so one of the things that I would do is I'd say, "Hey, I had a counselor come in and do some mindfulness work. And if you're sitting at your desk or wherever at, you can do it with me now." The anxiety. "I'm going to fail this test. I'm not going to do good. I'm not going to remember these formulas. I'm not going to be able to show my work. I'm not going to be able to solve these problems. Oh my gosh. I need this for my degree. This is the math class that I need." All these things are running through people's head. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to sit straight up in your chair, feet firmly on the ground. You're going to take your hands, put them on your lap. You're going to close your eyes. And the first thing you do is you're just going to start breathing. Just start breathing. Now I want you to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and see if you can do it for an 8 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter if you can't get to 8. Do it where it feels comfortable for you, but take deep breaths. I want you to try to empty your mind right now. I don't want you to think about anything. Don't worry about this presentation. Don't worry about the food you got in the microwave or the oven. Don't worry about the ice or the snow. I just want you to focus on your breathing. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel your feet on the ground. Empty your mind of thought. Last one. And we would do that exercise. And then I would give them the test. And it actually helped quite a few of their test scores. Because what would happen is, maybe it's the first class of the day for them. Maybe they just came from work and now it's 5:30 and they had to find parking, they had to leave work, they had to talk to the kids on the phone on their way to school, they had to pick the kids up, take them to sports before they came, right? They're already Oh, do I have a textbook? Do I have this? I didn't get a chance to study the way I wanted. Like all this stuff is just running through their mind. They're about to explode. And I was like, you know what? Stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just for a second. Gather yourself. All right, let's go. Give them the positive self-talk, right? Did you read the chapters? Yes. Did you study? Yes. Did you reread? Yes. Did you go to tutoring? Yes. Did you do the homework? Yes. Did you work through the problems more than once? Yes. Then you've done everything that you can do. So do the best that you can. What's that? Please don't tell anyone to empty their mind. Most people don't have much going on up there. Well, I'm being serious right now, Ram. Because a lot of people don't understand how to come back. And they lose so much time before they're able to do that. And unfortunately, while they're in that heightened state of anxiety and agitation, an interaction with the kids happens. While they're in that heightened state of anxiety or agitation, something happens with their significant other. There's an interaction. And, we say, hey, man, don't take it out on me. That's one of the catalysts of that happening. And so when you're at work and you're not able to do your best because you bring the drama in and you don't know how to put it to the side or not give it more fuel than what it should have because it's so big, because you're trying to build the community. That's big. Now, another one that should should go without saying, don't steal. Don't steal. There's not too many things that you can do to me that will just piss me off. Stealing and lying is two of those things. I give and I give willingly. Please don't steal it from me. But don't steal from these organizations. Don't steal from the nonprofits. Don't steal from Black business. I hear people say, well, they ain't gonna miss it. They got it. They got plenty. I deserve it. Right? There's all these things that people can throw in their mind on why they're justifying taking this. I don't like this person at this organization. The trust goes back both ways. It's perpetual. The Black business owner is also a Black individual. So if we are looking at Black business with contempt, yeah, they're inadequate, then the business owner or the manager or folks that are invested and loyal to the organization when you're stealing from it, they've got that same lens on. And in small communities like these, you're tied probably to someone else's business or organization, either through familial ties or through your church or some other organization. And now they have painted not only you as a thief, but now they got a bad taste in their mouth on whatever you're connected to. And we'll say, oh, yeah, no, I ain't like that. If, you stole from me, I'm just mad at you. I'm not going to trip on everything else. Explicit, implicit, unconscious. It's damaging. It's damaging. Talk about what you need. There may be a way that the organization can provide it for you, but don't steal it. As an employee, recommend business. That's super important. It's super important. Help to be that marketing, help to be that advertising as the employee. Tell people about it. Man, I work here. I volunteer here. This is what they do. Here's how you can get involved. Why don't you come with me? Bring your kids. They can help. They need volunteer experience. Giving back. Man, I donate $20 a month. I donate $5 a month. I donate my time. Would you consider doing that also? Help build. Another one, don't ask for favors. And what do I mean by that? If you need something, yes, ask for what you need. But oftentimes, unfortunately, as you interact and you're volunteering or you're giving your time, all of a sudden there's this entitlement. All of a sudden there's this expectation. Well, I should be able to ask you for this, that, and the other. Hey, can you do this? Why don't you let me hold this? Why don't you give me that? And these things are outside what the organization does. How much money do you want? You want us to do what? You want me to give you this goods or service at below cost? So you want us to take a loss on this as if like how does the organization grow and thrive if everyone is asking for a favor? And it's internal folks asking for a favor. It's hard enough when the outsiders are asking for the melanated discount. But the insiders want these favors also? How do we build if everyone in the room, and there's 10, all want favors at below cost? Or over cost. Maybe I'm saying that backwards. So I'm supposed to take a loss, or the organization takes a loss 10 times as a favor because, well, I was volunteering for you. You should be grateful. You should want to do that. They cannot grow that way. And what is huge and problematic is oftentimes many Black organizations, especially nonprofits, are very caring and very giving. And if you ask, they're going to try to do it for you. And so if you know that's an Achilles heel, don't take advantage of it. I tell folks, I say, I one of my Achilles heels, I try not to say no. I try to find ways not to say no. Now the joke, shout out to Shaylin if you're listening, is I always tell her no right off the bat. Like, nope. Like, Marwan, let me ask you a question. Nope. While I'm really saying no, to give myself time to figure out how to say yes. Now, what's nice is I've known her for so long, so she's not asking for a favor, so to speak, right? She's not trying to take advantage of my kindness, knowing that I'm going to try to do whatever she needs for me to do. The relationship building. But if you want Black businesses to thrive, if you want the community to thrive, your relationships with each other are important. The last one, number H, letter H, work it like you own it. Work it like you own it. Imagine how powerful an organization or nonprofit would be if you worked it like you own the place. And what I mean by that is what I was talking about before, right? When you stop as the owner, as the only employee, all momentum stops. But if you have all of your volunteers and all of your employees and all of your 1099ers or whoever they are coming in and they're all in the space like they own it, then they're going to protect it against those that would do harm to it. We were doing concessions pre-COVID, and sometimes, we'd have volunteers that we just met, right? So we would take, you know, oh, I'm gonna put it on a particular group of folks. Um, but we would take people from all walks of life, right? And because of that, sometimes folks gonna do what they gonna do. I'll make it simple. They're gonna leave their trash in the van, right? Now you saw them leave the trash in the van, but you don't say anything. And you're like, well, I thought you seen it. I thought you knew. I don't know why they would do that. But if that was your van, you'd be like, you need to get that trash up out of there. That's a simple one. But you might be surprised as to how much I hear that. That folks will report to me something that is like, you could have handled that. If you care about the organization, if you care about the company, if you care about this organism, you want it to grow and be healthy, then if it was yours, you would not allow that to happen. Yes? Yes. So work it like you own it. Work it like you own it. And that doesn't mean being an ass about it. But hey, you know what? Please pick up your trash. We want to make sure that we keep this van nice and clean. You know, we want to make sure that we stay in a position where we're able to continue to help people. We want to make things easier on each other. Grateful to be here to be able to serve the community in this capacity as a volunteer, as an employee, as a board member, whatever your capacity is. Just work it like you own it. All right, we've got two more. Roman numeral 15. And I hope that's helpful. And I'm going to save employers for last in this conversation. But hiring, okay? Training is important. Training is important. You need to train your staff to do the jobs and the tasks that you want them to do. Now, one of the challenges for us is we work with pretty much everyone who comes through the door. And so we try to find something for them to do because we believe that there's something that everyone can do, right? And they may have different needs, but we try our best to do that. And sometimes we're not always going to be successful in that, but we try. But you have to train your staff and try to get away from if you're not the head, right? So you're not the ultimate decision maker. Don't think of it as a job security thing. Hey, look, I'm not going to show this person on how to do this because if I do, they're going to take my job. No, it's going to make it easier. If you're not there, you've got someone else that can actually do it. That means less work for you. That means the ability for you to work on something else, to experience some more growth, to get different knowledge, skills, and abilities. Look at it as a win and not as a loss. Doesn't have to be a zero-sum situation for you. Train your people, your volunteers, your employees, your people that are side by side with you, no matter where they're at in the org chart. Training is critical. If they understand what it is that they need to do and they can do it without minimal guidance, then that's going to free you up to do other things. But if you have to constantly give them step-by-step directions, okay, what now? Okay, well, what now? Or you find yourself standing next to them or sitting next to them doing it, well, you're doing it yourself. You got to let go of that power. You have to share that power. You have to empower. Don't be fearful in that. If you are so good in this particular position and you're concerned about, man, they're going to see someone else can do it, they can do it just as good as I can or better, and I'm going to diminish. Don't look at it that way. Because if you're that good at that, that means you're probably going to be that good at something else that you're doing. And at the end of the day, we all need our experts, right? We need our experts. But we also need people that have the flexibility of being able to wear multiple hats at the same time at a high level. So maybe, as an example, you're a bookkeeper. And that's what you do, and you're a great bookkeeper. But you know what? You're a bookkeeper, but you can drive, you can help prepare meals. I'm using G2 as an example, right? Because I want there to be this dichotomy in activity, in task. So it's stark. And so while now someone else can do some bookkeeping, and it's good, they dot their I's, they cross their T's. You are so much more of an asset because not only can you do some bookkeeping, but you can drive. You can help prepare food. You can drop that off. You have that time to think about and analyze what you do, how it's done, how it can be improved upon. Fill those gaps. What opportunities may exist? Let go of that power and share that power. Build a community within your own organization. It's a really powerful thing, and I understand that it's a scary thing. But to me, it makes you even more valuable. Not only does it show a willingness that on the job description where it says, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to do that, in some many job descriptions you'll see, and duties as assigned. See, it's just a bullet point, but there's so much in that, duties as assigned. I hear people, that ain't my job. That ain't what I do. That's not what I'm here for. Okay. But this isn't McDonald's. This is a Black organization. This is a nonprofit. This is a Black business. We're trying to grow. We're trying to build the community. We're trying to provide a good service to a community that so desperately needs it. We're filling a huge void. That advocacy work, that training, that teaching, that access to whatever that resource or service is so huge. That's where the training comes in. So train your people. Outcomes. You need to have outcomes. What do you want to have happen with your staff? From a position standpoint, what does it look like to have an effective driver, an effective bookkeeper, an effective marketer, an effective advertiser? What do you want to see? Again, when folks come and they want to volunteer, they want to come to work, and you probably have this experience too. They tell you, I'm going to be the best ever. You don't understand. Shout out to she who will not be named. But, I interviewed a friend recently. And she said, hey, I'm going to be, the best assistant you ever had. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I was like, okay. But the outcomes are important. I hear what you're saying, but can you do it? These are the expectations. These are the outcomes. And part of those outcomes is, for me, being that self-starter, being able to not wait, to be proactive, to fill in those gaps, those blind spots that I don't see, to be value added, to be a support. Those things are critical. Those things are important, but the outcomes need to be clear, and that can be difficult. C is professional development. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is when this organization started, it was myself, Rob Dent, Stephanie Dent, Drayton Jackson, Naja Jackson, Diana Sullivan, and Shaylin Houston, and Roderick McGrew. And Shaylin is the, board member for Catalyst. And all the great work that she does. Drayton and Diana and Naja now have their own organization, Foundation for Poverty and Homeless Management. That's huge, but that's professional development. That's what that should look like. Professional development. What knowledge, skills, and abilities do they have? Did they gain from being a part of the organization? What is that professional development? What can you point to and say that's tangible? And that is because of G2 or XYZ organization. That's big. And sometimes we think because of the roles that we play in these smaller organizations that we don't have you're not going to get a certification working for G2, right? I have no certificate that I can print off and give you because you did this for a year or 2 years. But I could develop the hell out of you. I can provide a space for you to lead, to run programs, to create programs, to execute programs, to learn budgeting, reporting, to engage with people up and down different parts of organizations, hierarchies and structures, to present in public, to gain technical expertise in running podcasts, setting podcasts up, recording, interviewing, understanding audio and video, professional development. And sometimes that person is gaining that professional development and they don't even realize it. Oh, I cook, I prepare meals. Okay, go a little further. Oh, I was preparing 90 meals a day based on a menu that met the nutritional requirements for the USDA and the Office of Public Instruction for the Superintendent, OSPI, whatever that acronym is. And these meals had to be done at a certain time with all these nutritional requirements and portion control. And doing 500 to 800 meals a week or whatever we were doing. Oh, and we're still doing Thursday meals. Oh, and we're doing pancake breakfast every Thursday. And we're doing neighborhood barbecue once a month. Wow. Professional development. And so when they go and they look for a job or they go and they change, then they are able to put that on a resume and articulate what they've done. Working in a high paced, stressful environment. Hey, I was doing concessions for a year and a half with G2, and there's 30,000 people in the stands. The lines are crazy long. I've got to check IDs and make sure that I'm not serving to minors. I've got to make sure that I'm not over serving. I need to make sure that I'm accurately charging people for what they purchased. I'm counting change back. I'm dealing with issues with machines running down or not being able to keep up with demand for the food that is being ordered. I'm dealing with people that are stressed. I'm dealing with drunk patrons, people that wanna get back to the game and want it now, 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 but the line is 30 back and there's 8 lines and we're short-staffed because 3 people called out. That's professional development. Oh, and while all of that's going on, and some of you guys are going back and getting in your bed, I'm going back to the Salvation Army. I'm going back to George's house at 2 in the morning. But I need to do all those things. And what a boost and build to self-esteem, to knowledge, skills, abilities, to experience. I can do this. Not only can I do this, I did this. I'm capable. And when I have an opportunity or when I'm ready, I know now that I can do this, or I could do this again. I can do more than this. Professional development. Letters of recommendation are really important. One of the things is I just got last night. I just was asked to be a reference for someone. Right? It's constant. Whether it's previous students, coworkers at the college. I think I even had a coworker at the Navy reach out to me and ask me to be a reference. I'm like, okay, I wasn't there very long, but sure. But I typically do not write reference letters for people. Now, there's a few reasons for that. One, when I was actively teaching at the college, it was just too much, right? So first year, you don't have folks graduating, maybe the first 6 months or so. You might meet a few people that are at the end of their academic career and they take a class or two from you max, right? So it takes a while for folks to kind of come through your tree where they've taken a bunch of classes for you or you've advised them for a significant portion of their academic career. But you get enough time in, then it's consistent, right? And they're going to change jobs and change opportunities. They're going to need a letter of reference. But teaching in business, one of the things that I thought was important is I don't write reference letters. You do. And the reason why I have people write their own reference letters is what is an interview for? It's for you to brag about what you can do, what you're going to bring to that company. And so it's one thing for me to say, oh, yeah, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But is it true? Do you know what you did? And do you believe that you did it to the level that I'm saying that you did it? So I have folks write their own reference letters. What did you do for me? What capacity did I know you in? Oh, if you were a student, what kind of student were you? Oh, you did above and beyond. How did you do that? Does that mean that you helped other people in the class understand the assignment, complete the assignment? Did you start study groups? Did you do extra credit? What did you do that made you so great as a student in my class? Why am I writing this reference letter for you? And so what happens is they write the letter. At first it's like, oh, and they write it. And then we talk about it. Okay, now let's talk about what you wrote. Let's see what you said that you believe that I would say about you. And I'll help them tweak it, right? Because it's often very difficult for people to brag on themselves or to pull up the things that they've done. So like I just said, some of the soft skills and hard skills that people gain from working concessions at a Seahawks game, right? The things that I spoke about, they're not going to put that down on paper because they're not thinking in that. Working in a high-paced environment, emotions are going. People want it now. Solving problems, right? In a stressful environment. And you don't have control, right? You are I don't even want to say a contractor. You're a volunteer volunteering for through this program. So they have paid staff, at let's call it Safeco. I don't even know what Lumen's Field now. Is that what it is? Or the Tacoma Dome, right? They have their paid staff that you work alongside with, right? And they have their own issues. I'm paid and I get hourly and I ain't doing that. And this ain't my job. You got that going on while you're trying to raise money for the nonprofit that you're attached to, right? I got to do all these things. But you don't even think that that is such a powerful, tangible skill. And not only do you not think that, but you don't have a way to articulate that on the paper. So that's why I have them write it. And when we have that conversation, oftentimes like, oh, dang, I did that? I did that? I guess I did do that. I did that? It's like, yeah, you did that. That's a big deal, right? You showed up. And it was supposed to be a staff of 9, but it was a staff of 6. And you still got kudos from customers and from the agency running the concessions. We didn't really have we didn't have a shortage, or it was a very minimal shortage. But $50,000 passed through the tills in a 3-hour time span. That's phenomenal. Good job. Okay. So that's big. Letters of recommendation. Build up your community. Again, this is a small community. And again, this doesn't have to be specific to this community here. Kitsap or Bremerton or the Black community or whatever, right? But build your folks up so that they will shine, so that if they move on or they're going to split their time with another organization, they are an asset to them. Letters of recommendation. And the last one, E, which is why I said be an asset to them. A feeder program to other organizations. I think it's a good idea to participate and help out multiple orgs if you can. Now, the main org that you got heart for, yeah, you're giving them 90% of your time. But if you can, give some other orgs a little bit of your time. Does a lot of different things. One, you get to learn how other folks do things, right? Sometimes we're too far in the forest to see the trees. So we miss out on being able to do things more efficiently. Sometimes we miss out on ways to do things more fun. It's not even about efficiency. We can actually get a little bit more joy if we did this way versus that way. You get to share what you do at the organization that is your main one. Those folks probably don't even know what the organization is that you work for or volunteer with. Or they kind of just know who they are, and that's it. They know of them. You get to bring your knowledge, skills, and abilities to another organization. Now you get to impact multiple Black businesses simultaneously and directly. You get to create and be a bridge between those organizations, right? As a head of an organization or a program manager of an organization, A and B of that same level, they may not be thinking, hey, you know what? How could I work with G2? How could I work with this organization? But you have a foot in both worlds. You get to see the gap or the opportunity. Hey, man, have you guys ever thought about doing this? Because, they do that over there. And that would help y'all, and y'all wouldn't have to worry about that. It'd probably save you some money. It would definitely save you some time. What? Yeah, we'll make the contact. That wouldn't happen if it wasn't for you being that connector piece. You are powerful individuals. You have so much power. The travesty, the true crime, is one, not using that power, and two, not using the power for good. The first thing we have to do is use the power that we have to recognize that we are powerful as individuals, that we have something to offer, no matter how small you think it is. Your time, your availability is paramount, is critical, is significant, is wanted, is desired, is appreciated, is loved. And it builds the community. Dare to build the community. Dare to have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to make a change, to make a difference, and understand that your time You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, don't waste my time. I ain't got time for that." No, I want you to have time for that. They're a little messy. Help them to clean up. Help them to survive. Help them to move from survival to thriving. Survive to thrive. Help them to be an asset to themselves. Think about it. In an organization, it's not just the head, right? Obviously, they're there for a reason. Maybe they're being compensated, they're being paid for what they do, but it's everyone that works there, right? I have a fiduciary duty to everybody who works or volunteers at G2. I have a fiduciary duty to the board. I have a fiduciary duty to those that are stipend, to those that volunteer, to those that are paid. But I definitely have a fiduciary duty to the clients that we serve. I have a fiduciary duty to the organizations that we partner with, that we provide goods or services to. And I have a fiduciary duty to the other organizations that we collaborate with, that we share information with, that we advocate for. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility. And I want you to think of it as such. Feeder programs to other organizations. All right, employers, this is the last one. Employers, go ahead and pop that in there. Again, a lot of power, a lot of responsibility. So what do we have to do? We got to treat them well. Treat your people well. Give them words of affirmation. Acknowledge the work that they do. Acknowledge their effort. Love is not just the positive things. Love is also the corrective action. Too many times we don't want to hurt feelings. We don't want to cause any conflict. It's like, hey, I got some spinach in your teeth right there. And we don't want to tell someone that sister, you need a breath mint, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, there's, some easy ways to do that. You take out your packet, especially if you know that this person, kind of suffers with chronic halitosis. You keep some mints on you. You take a mint, you offer a mint. And if they say no, like, oh, please take the mint. And you don't have to be nasty about it. Doesn't have to be a dig. You don't have to do it in front of everyone. But that's leadership. That's also love. That's support. You know that thing is kicking like Bruce Lee, like an MMA fighter. Who's that? Who's my favorite fighter? Anderson, Spider Silva. You know that breath is kicking. Offer the mint. Offer the mint. Treat them well. Don't allow them to continue talking to other folks, knowing that what they're going to do? Probably talk about them like a dog. Woo, boy. That breath was smelling like Wu-Tang Clan. And so you just letting them kind of go off like that? Don't do that. Treat them well. That's an example. But the corrective action is treating them well. They can't do better if they don't know that they need to do better. You have to give them the gift if they're missing it. But there's a way that you have to deliver that gift. And we can all improve on that. Try not to give it when you're fatigued or you're emotional or you're frustrated, because it's going to come out a little harsh. Pay when you can. If you have volunteers, and what I mean by pay when you can, and sometimes we don't do a really good job of the intangible benefits that either a paid staff or a volunteer receives. So sometimes you have to let them know, like, hey, as a faculty member, this time that I'm giving you to work on your professional development or build a plan for you normally would be compensated at yada, yada, yada. You don't have to really say it like that. But understanding what those non tangible perks are. For us, for folks that drive for us, it gives them mobility when they may not have a vehicle. Or maybe there's one vehicle and it's in the other direction and they need to get where they're going. It saves them time. It saves them money. 'Cause they're not using their gas, right? They're not putting their own personal gas in the vehicle, right? That's an intangible perk. So look at those things. Have conversations with your staff. Analyze what it is that you have them doing and be clear, right? Dr. Gibb was on earlier talking about, hey, this is the one of the seasons where suicides increase, depression increases, right? The weather, the holidays, it's a hard time. Folks isolating typically isn't a good thing for people. It's one of the reasons why I love doing concessions because Sundays, hey, there's no bus service. A lot of businesses are closed. And I don't mind, it's the devil's playground. So if I can take you out of the county and have you be a part of helping the community and helping a nonprofit and hearing a couple songs because we're doing a concert or see a couple plays from the Seahawks or the Sounders, right? That's huge. That's an intangible benefit. And all organizations and companies have them. So build those in and articulate that. Make a list. Hey, by you volunteering here, these are the things that you're getting. You're getting access to this subject matter expert. This person has been doing this thing for 15 years. There's no person better to be side by side with and get this direct experience. And you see it. You see self-help things or, courses, every there's so many different courses online now that you can take. $199 for this 6-hour course. For $1,599, you can get this, right? Man, but there's no substitute than the real thing. Oh, hey, you know what? Telling some of my folks, right? They're like, yeah, I might sell some food on the side, do some things like that. I want to have a restaurant. Okay. Well, here's the benefit. You get to make your mistakes and learn through G2, right? So, what does it look like for nutrition? Portion size, right? That's the OSPI and the USDA requirements, measurements, right? Cost per plate. So, okay, you want to sell plates. You want to sell plates at $10 a plate, right? Okay. So, how much is that going to cost you? How much profit are you going to make? How are you going to get it to the people? Are they going to pick it up? Or are you going to deliver it? Are you going to have a delivery charge? How far are you going to go? How much is that going to cost you? So if you sell 10 plates, what are you going to have left over? What was the time to create that meal? So even though you're here helping to prepare meals, you're learning on, hey, I'm going to have a side hustle of selling meals. Or I'm going to start my own small catering company. And these are things that I need to be thinking about. All right, I love making this, but this isn't cost effective. I don't really like making that, but it's a big seller. Do I have to use the highest grade meat? Or can I use something else? Am I over serving my customers? Do they need 6 pieces of meat? Or are they good with 4? Is it overkill? What dishes can I serve that are low cost that people are really going to love? How am I going to advertise and market it? When am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? How consistent do I want to be with this? Is this a sometime thing? Is it an all the time thing? Do I want a brick and mortar? All these different things. Pay when you can. That's what I mean by that. Identifying the intangibles. Find ways to provide those intangible benefits. Maybe they can bring their kids, flexible hours, work from home. A number of folks for us, like, hey, take this laptop with you. Oh, you guys only have a computer in your house. Okay, well, now you've got some access. That's a huge benefit. Acknowledge your people, acknowledge their effort. Say thank you. Even if you're paying your staff, say thank you. I appreciate you. I see you. You know, entitlement and expectation goes both ways. You've chosen to volunteer, you get paid, then I expect you to do XYZ at this level. But thank you. I appreciate you. I see you. Dang, I didn't even think about doing that. Great idea. But just as much, I need you to do this. You missed that. Here's an opportunity for growth. This is why we need to do this way. So I see a lot of issues, right? But one of the things I do is I try my best for folks to see my thought process. It's not a because I said so. It's this is the reason why we need to track these numbers. This is the reason why we need this data in real time. This is why we need to do this or work with this agency or provide this in-kind service or donation. This is why we need to do that. If it appears to be mission creep, I'm good for mission creep, by the way. That's your word of the day, mission creep. I want you to learn that definition. It can be a organizational killer, but look up mission creep. Mission creep. Super important. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do one more, and then I might not do one this evening. Do know that the emergency shelters are open this evening. You definitely need to know that. Please let folks know. We have the Rev says freezing rain tonight. So all of this stuff is going to be ice, which is horrible. So govern yourselves accordingly. Again, take your time. Think about everything you need in the hopes that you don't have to go back out there. Okay. It's 25 degrees. Matter of fact, I think someone sent me something. You know what? Maybe I'll share it at the end so I can just clip it at the end. I want this to just be its thing at the end. All right, professional development. Last one we're going to get into. Professional development. What I want you to do is I want you to analyze your personal SWOT. It's one of my favorite things, one of my favorite concepts teaching at OC was teaching SWOT analysis and emotional intelligence. Two of my favorite concepts. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The S and the W are internal to you. What are Marwan's strengths? What are Marwan's weaknesses? O and T are external, your opportunities and your threats. What are the outside opportunities that exist? And what are your outside threats that exist? Okay. We can do the O and the T really quick here. We have a transportation company. It's snowy and icy. What's the opportunity? We're going to have a pickup in business because people are going to need to get around in these conditions. That is an external opportunity. I can't make that happen. Nature made that happen, right? What's the external threat? Well, one, it's icy and snowy. So that's going to increase significantly accidents. It's going to increase significantly, probably delays, right? We're not going to be able to transport people at the rate that we normally would in just regular conditions. Those are just two quick threats. What's the internal strengths and weaknesses of G2 as an organization in regards to transportation? A strength is, hey, we've got the drivers we have are phenomenal at driving in winter conditions. Another strength is that we have a number of vans. Another internal strength is we have passionate drivers. That's a big deal. We have passionate drivers that are up at 6 in the morning, getting folks to where they need to go, whether it's the hospital or to the ferry, to a doctor's appointment, to work. Got to get to work so they can pay their rent. Don't want to get evicted in this climate. What are our internal weaknesses? We don't have enough drivers. We don't have enough drivers. That's a huge weakness for us. We need more. Another one is we can't pay them what they're worth. So we rely on volunteers or stipending. So I've given you a SWOT analysis quickly based on transportation. But in regards to professional development, I want you to look internally to yourself. What are your personal strengths and weaknesses that you have to bring to bear as a volunteer, as an employee, as an executive director, as a program manager, as a case manager, as a project lead, as an assistant? Whatever it is, what are your internal strengths and weaknesses? Are you a self-starter? Are you loyal? Do you like to understand the job that you do, so you read up on it? Are you good at the particular task that it is that you do? What is your internal weakness? Maybe not really great at attention to detail. It's hard for you to remember things that you're told orally. Now, the whole point of doing a SWOT analysis is, one, to be aware, and in this regard, self-aware of what your internal strengths and weaknesses are and your external opportunities and threats are. But two, so that you can increase your strengths and opportunities and minimize your weaknesses and your threats. But you need to look at them and analyze them in order to do that. So if I have a problem with attention to detail, what can I do? I can make sure I have something to write with, or a recorder. Get permission before you record people, and record it or write it down. That's huge. So many times people just kind of do the same thing. I'll ask a question. Say, hey, I need this information, or I need what's going on with this. Hey, let me get that to you. Or, hey, I need you to go and do this over here. And they had already done it. And it's like, can you tell me again how to do that? Attention to detail, right? Write it down so you have it. Okay, yeah, I'll get that done. Flip. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. And now I've got my checklist. I was supposed to wash my hands. Check. I was supposed to unload the dishwasher. Check. I was supposed to reload the dishwasher. Check. I was supposed to wash all the dishes. Check. Supposed to clean all around the sink? Check. Same thing in the bathroom. I come in, I open up all the curtains. I make sure that the drapes are straight, right? These are real things, so that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, check, 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 check. Internal strengths and weaknesses. Now, what I do well, like I said, I'm loyal, I'm passionate, I'm a self-starter. I like to get her done. Whatever those things are, build on it more. Can you help others to have that passion that you have? How did you minimize your weaknesses? Take a look at those opportunities and those threats that are external to you. What are your challenges? Well, I don't have transportation to get in. I've got some other requirements outside that cause some conflict. Well, what can I do about that? And look at that. Seek your SWOT from others. So you have your own self-perception on what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. But go to a colleague, go to a superior, go to someone who is not your superior, not on your level, someone that you give directives to. Ask them for your SWOT. Hey, what do you see as my strengths? Where do you think I can do better? A lot of organizations do that now. The Navy was big on that. You'd have to do evaluations, right? And we would have to evaluate our supervisor. And they would evaluate themselves and they would talk about it. And we would do the same. Same concept. You can do what the big boys are doing. Should it make sense? And this is one that I believe really makes some good sense. We have blind spots in our life. So the strengths and weaknesses that I see aren't going to be the same that other people see because I can't see over here, right? You can see that. I don't know what this hand is doing. So you have to seek that out. And if it matches up, great. But the gift is when it doesn't. Because that gives you that opportunity to work on those external threats and those internal weaknesses. I can improve on this. Don't take it personal. Now, once you've done your SWOT analysis and you've done your peer SWOT analysis, the next thing that you need to do is create short, midterm, and long goals. I'm a big fan of SMART goals. You can dig back into the podcast and find I've done a podcast just on SMART goals. Create your goals. SMART, if you're going to use it, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, with a time component to it. So create that short-term goal to work on that weakness, to work on that threat, to build on that strength, to build on the opportunity that exists. The A, which is important, is achievable. It should be challenging, but it should be achievable. And check in on it. Make sure that you have different levels of goals. One, because that's the momentum. If you played video games, especially racing games, Mario Kart, something like that, and you go over the little strip that gives you a little boost, you need that boost. Those are the short-term goals of your life. And so when you have those short-term goals in and it gives you that boosts you on to your mid-level goals. It boosts you on to your long-term goals. It boosts you on to your next short-term goal so that you can keep that momentum going and keep that speed. But if you make it too hard or if you make the goals too far away, right, you're going fast and you start to lose that momentum a little bit. And you're like, I need to make it I need a win. I need a win. We need wins. We need wins. But they do need to be tangible wins. That's why they need to be attainable, but they also need to be challenging. Doable, right? It can't be just crazy, super impossible stuff. But create that. And the big one is check your progress. So many times when people build goals, what they don't do is check and see how they're doing, because sometimes you have to modify your plan. Yeah, okay, you did your SWOT analysis, you did your peer SWOT analysis, you created all these goals, and you just go on down. Your time frame was 2 weeks, and you're not even gonna check in on your goal for 2 weeks. That's not effective. Why would you wait till 2 weeks to figure out, you know what, man, this didn't even work? You need to check in and see how your progress is going. And sometimes the progress is, hey, you know what? My goal is to do it every single day. My job is to do it every single day at this time, right? We're making our goal more specific. I need to do it every single day at this time for this duration. I need to do it every single time at this duration in this location. And this is going to do XYZ. And 3 days in, yeah, I did it, but I didn't do it as long as I was supposed to. Why? What happened? Was it internal or was it external? Was it a one-off or is it something that can happen on a regular basis? Do you need to change times? Do you need to do it earlier? Do you need to do it after? Do you need to do it in a different location? This is where you're going to make those improvements in your life. Everybody calling me today, but check your progress. And the last one in E for professional development is apply for other positions. Regardless if your intent is to take the job, you may be in love with the place that you work, and I'm never leaving G2. That's awesome. Come on down. We'd love for you to be a lifer. I am. But apply. Check your value in the market. And even if you don't physically apply, look at like or similar job descriptions for the position that you're in or the position that you were trying to go to. Are you gaining those knowledge, skills, and abilities? Do you have the time in for those knowledge, skills, and abilities and experience that they're looking for? Do you have relevant or substitutable experience for that job or that opportunity that you're looking at? That's great. That is a powerful thing. Hey, look, I've been here at G2 for 2 years. Or I've been, part of the conduit, for a year. And, now I can do this, that. And my goal is to learn how to edit, to improve on my social media, to be able to make thumbnails. And now I can do this. I see that there are some positions out here, monsters.com or WorkSource or wherever I check, and I'm looking at the itemized job description, and I can do this and I could do that. I could do that. I've been doing it. They want 2 years of experience. I've been doing this for 3, 6 more months. I'll have that one. Oh, I didn't even see that. That's new. Okay. Well, why would I want, proficiency in Adobe Premiere? Huh. All right. Hey, Mr. C, what do you think? You think we can, maybe do a trial of Adobe Premiere? See what that would be like for G2? I looked at it and, the trial is 2 weeks for free, or, you can pay for it per month. So is there money in the budget maybe to do a 6-month, month by month, so I can learn how to do some editing in Premiere? And at the end of it, if it's easier, if it's faster, if more people can kind of get in there and plug and play, maybe it's something that G2 invest in. That's awesome. That's powerful. Maybe you need to, out of necessity, moonlight and do some other things so that you can still get all of your needs met. And that's a huge asset for you. But I just want you to consider what being a lifelong learner is. At least an intentional lifelong learner. Sometimes we're lifelong learners just because we're going to learn things as we go through life. But I want you to be intentional about it. What do you want to learn? What are you going to go and seek? It's huge. And think about those outcomes. By you learning that, by you seeking that, how can that improve not only yourself, or your immediate family, or your extended family, or your club, or your group, or your church, or your religious affiliation, or your community, or the collective, or the country, or the world? As we wrap up today, I want you to know that you are powerful, tremendously powerful. And I don't know how the holidays are going for you. Um, it's dangerous out there. So my plans got usurped. This is 2 years in a row. Last year was Christmas Eve and it started snowing, if you guys remember. So I had to hurry up and get Layla home. I didn't end up opening my Christmas presents until my birthday. I was like, well, we'll just save them because it's exactly a month after. So I'm like, I'll save them. And so this year, I haven't even wrapped the presents yet because, well, COVID. And I don't want Layla to get COVID before Christmas. That'd be horrible. But maybe you're going through something right now. And this is a hard time, the holidays. And it's too bad that in life, as a kid, we can have that joy. And as an adult, that joy is gone. And it's tough, right? Folks are unhoused, experiencing housing insecurity, if they have housing at all, food insecurity, job insecurity, health insecurity. And sometimes folks are experiencing all these things at the same time. Relationships aren't going well. Your relationship with yourself isn't going well. That's why I wanted to not wait on getting this information out. And although a lot of people are advising me to lay down and rest, and I need to, it's urgent. This is urgent. There's something in here for everyone. I want you to feel encouraged, hopeful. I want you to take action. Small bites. That's how you eat an elephant. Small bites, one bite at a time. Don't isolate. Connect with somebody. Some way, somehow. Yes, I'm talking directly to you. My email is in the description. Again, if you want a copy of the manifesto, the living document for change, just send me an email. I'll send it to you. For those that celebrate Christmas, it is 3 days before Christmas. Freezing rain tonight. Supposed to be snow too. Please be careful. Take care of yourself. All things in moderation. Give yourself grace. Be honest with yourself and always do your best. All right. Well, I actually didn't think this was going to be 3 hours. I was going to do these in 1 hour chunks. And But you got to go where the heart leads, and it led me to go this far. But I do need to rest my voice now. So I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. I'm so appreciative of all of you that have tuned in and watched live. I appreciate all of you that will watch this later. And I watch all of you who I will meet in the future or may never meet, but you somehow have watched this podcast or one of the other ones. I hope that you have found it helpful and fruitful. Thank you, Carolyn. Happy holidays to you also. All right. Until next time, everyone. Bye bye.